Hi guys, hope you're doing well out there today. My name is Dan and this is the TC Electronic VibraClone. This is a rotary speaker simulator going after the sound of the very famous Fender VibraTone cabinet. If you're not familiar with the VibraTone, it was made by Fender when they owned the Leslie speaker company. Obviously Leslie famous for organ rotary speakers, and it was designed specifically with guitar players in mind, so it actually had a guitar driver inside. It didn't have a tweeter or anything, and unlike traditional Leslie cabinets which spread the sound out horizontally, the VibraTone actually had a vertical spread of the sound, so it was a very unique sounding cabinet, and it was very famously used by Stevie Ray Vaughan. One thing to mention about the VibraTone cabinet was that it had a crossover built in, and you were to run into it and then out into your standard amp also. So it had a very mid-focused sound, and I think it captures it pretty well, this pedal. But I've seen some complaints online that says it loses quite a bit of top end, and it does, but I think that's part of the charm. But because the original VibraTone was used in conjunction with like basically a dry amp, I'm gonna also test that out by having a wet amp with this and a dry amp. So it's got a very simple control layout. We just got a speed control, a drive control, and then a switch to go between chorale and tremolo. I personally think this switch is a bit mislabeled, because to me all it's doing is switching between two predetermined speed ranges. It doesn't seem to be changing the tonality much, if at all. So it's quite a quirky pedal. The drive control as well, speaking of quirky. So it's sort of a simulated overdrive sound, but also it kind of determines the level, so you have to have it a fair way round to match the bypass signal. So it's definitely got a sound to itself. It might not be what you're looking for, but what it does well. So let's get into some sounds. So this was the settings for the intro clip, and it's just a standard sort of rotary going after the Stevie Ray kind of thing. If we increase the drive now, and then if you compare this to the bypass signal, so you kind of have to have the drive up to even get it to match the bypass signal. So if I take this back now to reduce the drive, it really doesn't have much push. The amp's set up sort of clean on the very verge of breakup. So if you have a listen now, if we take that drive control back up to what the chorale / tremolo switch does. So to me, it's just switching between two different speed ranges. And I think where TC have missed a bit of a trick is that switch could have very easily been on a foot switch, because as you can hear, it actually ramps. So the ramping's already built in, but there's no actual way of accessing it while you're playing, which is quite disappointing, to be honest. And the other thing is the speed control does the same thing. So it's a shame there's no way to access that while you're playing. So if we now switch to the slower of the two, which is the chorale setting, you get watery, almost chorus-like sounds. So that about covers the speed range in the chorale setting. As you can hear, as I back off the drive, it gets a bit cleaner and a little bit more full range. As you turn the drive up, it really accentuates the mids. So now if we go down to the tremolo setting, this is the speed range of that. So there's a nice range of speed in there in the different settings, and the drive control, like I said, can add that colour and a bit of front end gain. So pushing the drive up and getting a nice sort of fast rotary sound, really good for like comping. You know, really nice sort of textures if you're playing in a 2-guitar band. That'll set you apart a bit, and then you can clean it up on the lower range of this. You can again get some nice sort of chorusy. You can get a pretty cool Soundgarden sounding rotary out of it as well. If you fancy getting Black Hole Sun with it. So what I thought might be cool is to check it out in a way that the VibraTone cabinet would have been used originally. So I've got 1 amp set up, just getting the VibraClone, even, not tone, VibraClone pedal, and then 1 amp set up clean. And it gives this real nice 3D separation. It's much more subtle. And I think really they were missing a trick not putting a mix control on this pedal. But I don't design pedals, so I am in no place to talk. So let's go for a faster sound now with the wet dry setup. So this is what it sounds like bypassed. With the pedal engaged. See, wouldn't have that been cool if it was on a foot switch as well? Let's crank it up a little bit. So that is the TC Electronic VibraClone, a very cool pedal. But it certainly does one thing well. It's not particularly flexible, but if that's the sound you're looking for, it's got it in spades. As I said, great pedal. I would have personally had some sort of mix control on it, and if they'd have added some sort of foot switch for ramping, that would just be the icing on the cake. So yeah, thanks for checking out this video, guys, and I hope to see you in another one soon. Cheers.